Still committed to Spain, many veterans continued to work for the Republic by raising funds. On March 1st, 1939, Evelyn Hutchins and Ruth Davidow spoke to a large rally in Tampa, Florida.
All the people were waiting for us to come. They had been told by the delegates. And the priest arrived, and they opened this church, and it was packed from one end to the other and way out into the streets. It was during that time, when we were in Tampa at the big meeting, that Spain, the war was ended. And if you ever saw a large audience stand up and cry like we did, all of us, it was really a terrific sorrow.
Well, the sorrow, the sorrow of losing the war is, as I explained to you, was something I began to experience even before the end. And when it finally happened, it was a death that you had expected, so to speak. But what's remarkable is that the pain of that loss, and I think I'm not the only one that feels that way, a lot of guys feel that way, never quite leaves you. It comes to me in various ways as the years go by. And sometimes it takes on the frightening characteristics of a metaphor for the human condition. It raises really deep inside of you the question, is it possible to win the good fight? You can't help but think that. It does things like that to you. A question you can't, really answer. But it raised it very sharply. Because it was the good fight. It was, to us, the good fight. And we lost.
We lost that battle, yes. We definitely lost that battle. The Spanish people lost that battle. They were deserted. You can't say, there's no other way of putting, but what we did gain was time, and what we did do was instill an anti-fascist spirit that I think played a key role, especially in the resistance and among the partisans who played an important role in the final defeat of fascism. So we won the war, actually. We won the war against fascism, though the victory was to come with V-Day in 1945, that many years later. Because they weren't stopped in Spain, and they weren't stopped in Czechoslovakia or in Austria, and eventually it led to, how many people died in World War II? 30 million? There were all kinds of figures, 50 million. It led to Auschwitz and Buchenwald and the destruction of the Jewish community in Europe.
World War II broke out in Europe 6 months after the fall of Republican Spain. A conflict arose among the veterans of the Abraham Lincoln Brigade because the Soviet Union and Germany had signed a non-intervention pact. To the dismay of many, those loyal to the Communist Party advocated for a while that the United States stay out of the war. But with the Nazi invasion of the Soviet Union in June 1941 and the American declaration of war 6 months later, most of the able-bodied veterans joined the United States Army to fight fascism a second time. However, many Lincolns found their commitment to anti-fascism distrusted by the United States Army. The veterans were harassed, spied upon, and initially prevented from seeing combat because of their political convictions. They were labeled premature anti-fascists. This harassment intensified throughout the 1950s in the anti-communist witch hunts of the McCarthy period.
It was a hard holding a job down. It was very difficult. In my particular case, we had been wiped out of the unions, seagoing unions. We couldn't sail on the ship. We couldn't get our seamen's papers. Coast Guard denied us that on the basis that where Reds had fought in Spain or something along that line. Every job you went to, no matter where I worked, I'd last a week or 2 weeks the most, and then the FBI would hound you and you'd lose your job. And this went on and on and on and on and on for almost a period of 10 years. You know, really. 10 years of this stuff. So as a revolutionary, you must expect all of this type of stuff. Missing meals, losing a job, being kicked out of your house, etc. I mean, that's the way it is, you know. It's not always going to be like that. One day we may change everything. Yeah. We hope.